Rev up your engines! Today I'm going to tell you the truth about Honda automatic transmissions. Now, Honda's always been known as a pretty good manufacturing company, but they have had problems with their automatic transmission. Being originally a motorcycle company, they made bulletproof manual transmissions, but realize in the United States today, over 96% of the people drive automatic transmissions. So whether they make a good manual transmission or not is immaterial to most people. They're going to get an automatic. Now, truthfully, in the past, Honda has had problems with their automatic transmissions. But this problem is mainly in the past. In the early 90s, I saw Honda transmissions breaking down, especially in Accord V6s that had a lot of power, and that big, powerful engine had a tendency of eating up the little automatic transmissions in them. And if you're like me and you don't really like those modern CVT transmissions, they're not as modern as you might think. Honda started building them in mass production in 1995. The 2024 models are out now, so that's almost 30 years ago. Those early Honda CVTs weren't that good. They had problems, they broke down. So if you're looking for a used Honda, I would tend to avoid 1999 to 2004 Civics that had the CVT transmissions. And interesting enough, I would also avoid the same year Honda Odysseys. Now, they did not have a CVT transmission. They had a 4-speed automatic, but it was a rolling pile of crap. They had to replace tons of them. But other Hondas, they can be excellent. Here's a perfect example. This is a 2008 Honda CR-V. It has a 5-speed automatic. And yes, it still has a dipstick to check the fluid. None of that sealed crap with no dipsticks like they're making today. And even though this thing is a 2008, as we look inside, it's got 168,599 miles on it. And it's now on its third owner. The previous owner was a young woman who didn't do hardly any maintenance at all. Should have changed the oil more. But it still runs like a clock, and the transmission still shifts like a dream, even with all that mileage and very little maintenance done to it. I'm on this 2008 CR-V is probably the best one they made for long life. It's got a regular 2.4 liter, nice large size 4-cylinder, normal fuel injection, not gasoline direct injection, no turbo. Now, even though it wasn't made in Japan, it was made in Ohio, and they did a good job there. Now, the transmission in this is a Honda-made, Honda-designed 5-speed automatic. And just like this particular 2008 with 160-something thousand miles on it, pretty much trouble-free. Now, of course, they all want better gas mileage, so they're going to multi-speed transmissions, and they're going to those horrendous CVTs. I don't like the CVTs. Now, that said, since Honda started making the CVT transmissions back in '95, the ones they're making the last decade or so, they're pretty well made. I personally don't like them, but they work pretty good. They don't have that many problems. The early ones, yeah, they did. Up to 2004, they had a lot of problems. But since then, not really problems other than I just don't like the way they accelerate, and knowing how they're built, they're just cheaply made. They wear out faster than a regular automatic transmission. The only reason they're going to CVTs is because they're cheaper to make, they weigh less, so they get a little bit better gas mileage. You go back to this 5-speed transmission that's relatively bulletproof. So I say this is probably one of the best cars they make. Let's say you want to get a new 2023 Honda CR-V, all right? It's a 1.5 turbo with a CVT transmission. I don't like the idea of an engine that's 1.5. This is 2.4, a lot bigger. Doesn't need a turbo, gonna wear out faster. I mean, they're okay, but they don't last as long as the regular automatics. Now, if you want to compare a modern 2023 Honda CR-V with a CVT to, say, a Mazda CX-50, the CX-50 still come with automatic transmissions. I have had quite a few customers. They said, you know, I like the CR-V, but I don't like the CVT. They went out and they bought the Mazda CX-50 instead because they like the idea of a real automatic transmission. Mazda's not stupid. They make cars for people who like driving cars, they like the way they feel, so they kept the automatic transmissions in them. My advice is this: go to the dealers and road test them. Road test something like a RAV4, a Mazda CX-50, road test the Honda CR-V that's going to have a CVT, You might not care. You might say, well, that CVT is okay to me. But I get a lot of people that bring me Hondas with CVTs. And they bought them used, not new, so they really didn't have a choice of what kind of tranny. It's the one that came with the used car they bought. And then they said later, I wish I had bought a car with an actual automatic transmission. I do not like this way the CVT transmission drives. It's not like the late model Honda ones. Anything past 2006 or so, it's not like the CVTs are going to fall apart in front of your very eyes. But they don't give you the driving experience of an automatic. And sure, you're going to pay more for an actual automatic transmission versus a CVT. One, you like the way it drives, and two, you like the way that the regular automatic transmissions last. This is an 08, 160-something thousand miles. Still shifts like a dream. My Matrix sitting in the garage. It's an 07. Still shifts the same as it did when it came off the factory floor. That's a 4-speed automatic. The Honda's a 5-speed automatic. One made by Toyota, one made by Honda. They're both excellent transmissions. But you can't get an automatic transmission in a CR-V anymore. You can only get CVT transmission. It might last quite some time. Sure, the early Honda CVTs, like I say, they stunk, but that was 99 to 2005, you know. They've gone a long way since then. But a lot of people just don't like the way they handle. And especially if you live somewhere where it snows a lot. You're gonna go look at a car with a CVT, road test it in the snow, look at one with an automatic transmission. You might find that you can't stand the way the CVT goes in the snow, and you like the modern automatic that's got all kinds of bells and whistles. A lot of them have a button you push for snow, so they shift differently so they don't slip in the snow. Road test one first and see what you like, especially in the snow if you live in a snowy area. And if you're a driver like me, you'll probably opt for the automatic transmission. They've got better response. They're not as sluggish. Now, personally, I would rather have a manual transmission. Then you control it all, right? But hardly anybody makes those things anymore. That's just the way that it goes. And since I'm the ultimate cheapskate, every vehicle I buy is used. There's hardly any used ones out in the United States. Hardly anybody buys them. So it's really slim pickings if you're looking for a manual transmission car. The automatics have gone a long way. Honda did themselves, but Honda has often opted out now into the CVT transmission state. It's kind of weird because they are more performance cars than, say, a Toyota in most cases. You'd think they'd offer this thing with a regular automatic, but they don't. Just realize sometimes Honda's a weird company. You take a lot of their cars with the V6 engines. Even today, 2023, they're still using rubber timing belts on a bunch of their V6 engines. If the belt breaks, pistons hit the valves, goodbye engine. Well, look at this. This is an 08 Honda CR-V with a 4-banger. And what does it have in it? It's got a metal timing chain on the 4-cylinder engine. So they're actually making their 4-cylinder engines better than their 6-cylinder engines in terms of longevity, less maintenance to do, price out a timing belt change on a V6 Honda. I've seen people pay as much as $1,500–1,800 for that job. This, you change the oil every so often. Still got the original timing chain. The engine still runs perfectly fine. Sometimes Honda does some squirrely things that to me just doesn't make any sense. Now, if you don't believe me how this thing still shifts, we'll shut the hood and take it for a spin. Go down the road. CR-V, and it's an older one, so it's got pretty good ground clearance. The new ones are a lot lower to the ground for better gas mileage, but these older ones, you can drive all over the place without worrying about scraping the bottom. Comes our little highway road. We'll put this transmission to the test. They said they made these 5 speeds for 15 years. They had very little problems with it. All right, here we go. Peels out. Smooth shift. No matter, it's got 168,000 miles. Look at it. It shifts like a dream, and when you want to pass people, you floor it. Downshifts smoothly. So up, you can't even feel it shifting. With 168,000 miles, and the previous owner was a woman that hardly did any maintenance at all on the car. Now, the only downside of this car is it's not phenomenal gas mileage. This particular one gets 27 miles a gallon on a highway. And that stinks for modern cars, right? You can buy an awful lot of gasoline for the price differential between this and the new one. Yeah, they'll put 8-speed, 9-speed, 10 speeds, and they'll get 30 or 40 something miles a gallon, right? They get a lot better than what this thing gets in gas mileage. This transmission still shifts fine. You buying a used one, hey, so what if you only get 20 something miles a gallon on a highway? It's going to get you where you're going. A 2.4 liter 4-cylinder engine with this 5-speed automatic It'll get you there pretty fast if you're in a hurry. Yet, it will probably way outlast a modern car that's like a 1.5 liter turbo with GDI and 8, 9, or 10-speed automatic transmissions. They just do not last as long. And to me, if I'm going to get 3, 4, 500,000 miles out of a car, I really don't care about a few miles per gallon differential. Maybe you really don't care that much about the difference between a CVT and an automatic, and you're not planning on driving your car 2, 3, 400,000 miles. You're one of those people that trades it in every 100,000 miles, in which case you could buy anything you wanted in Toyota, Honda, Mazda, because they're all going to last that long. But if you're like me and you'd be perfectly happy driving this '08 Honda CR-V with 168,000 miles, that everything on it still works good, the transmission still shifts like a dream, you'd listen to my advice and get yourself an actual automatic transmission in a regular 4-cylinder, larger engine. This is 2.4 liter, and not some little tiny turbocharged vehicle with a CVT transmission that will never last this long and just keep on rolling down the road pretty much trouble-free with very little maintenance at all, other than changing the oil and filter every 5,000, which, by the way, wasn't even done on this. It will now. The new owners maintain his own stuff, but even with poor maintenance, this thing's still going down the road. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.